Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. Welcome to Message to Movement, Winning at Being You. I'm your host, Coach Mills Rogers. This is a space where we have real conversations with people who are using their voice, their experiences, and their purpose to create impact, not just for themselves, but for others. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Henry Briscoe. We're going to talk about leadership, transformation, and what it means to actually win at being who you are without pretending or performing. If you're watching live, feel free to drop where you're watching from in the comments. Now, let's get into it. This episode of Winning at Being You takes a powerful and literally powerful turn into the world of discipline, performance, and personal transformation. Joining the conversation is Henry Briscoe, Director of Sports Performance and Nutrition at Kent State University Athletics, where he works with men's basketball and women's golf. Henry has trained collegiate programs, oversees professional teams, and athletes at the professional and Olympic levels across the U.S. and internationally. A former collegiate football player at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, and a national level competitive bodybuilder, Henry has turned his passion for fitness into a career rooted in discipline, consistency, and high performance. In this conversation, we'll explore what it really means to commit to a path, push past limits, and build a life around who you are at your core. Henry, super happy to have you.
Man, it's a blessing to be here.
And let me tell you guys, I know Henry from college. I remember seeing him in this place that we had this one dining hall. It was called the Conference Center at the University of Louisiana Lafayette, used to be called USL. And I remember seeing Henry back in the day with glasses of milk with every meal, like 2 or 3 glasses of milk, man. That's how much he was into it at that time. And so to see his journey over time, to see it materialize the way it has, is just amazing. And so again, I thank you so much.
Man, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So let me ask you this. At what point did working out stop being something you just did and started becoming who you are?
So after I graduated from USL, I know everybody say Louisiana Lafayette, and I still to this day call it USL. But I got out with a degree in accounting, and I worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, as you know, for just a little bit. But the love of sports, the love of training people, just being around the whole athletic environment, I really, really, really miss it. Well, in the corporate world, there's none of that. Okay. So I went back to school and I got my master's in exercise science at the United States Sports Academy in Daphne, Alabama. And that's when I got blessed to do an internship at Detroit Mercy. Now, this is way back in 98, because I still had hair back then. But this was back in 98. And then lo and behold, it just took off from there. It was more than, hey, me running the ball, me making a block. It was more about me helping somebody else use and get the God-given talents that God gave them to explore that and make that come to fruition.
So when did it really like click for you though? Like as far as like I said, man, I just remember you being very passionate about working out on campus. You were always in your workout clothes and everything. And so when did it just really just cross over to like, man, this is going to be my life. This is my life calling.
After Detroit Mercy, and I got my first job at Louisiana Tech, and I was working with football, track, yes, and football, track, baseball.
And let me stop you. How did you get a job at Louisiana Tech when that's like our rivals?
So the funny story is funny story is on the interview, they brought me in and they remember me from my playing days. But when the first day with the football team, the coach said, where I was, and I used to be at USL, and he said, we're not gonna hold that against him. And we're gonna forgive them of that. And they wrapped their arms around me. So that was an interesting. I was a little worried about that, but that actually turned out to be good, But they just seem to click. Sometimes when they say when you know that the person you're gonna marry, you just know. Well, it's just like that. When I did that job and how I would connect with the athletes and how to connect with the coaches and the athletes will buy into what I say. And really, I was just fresh out of my undergrad. I just finished my graduate, so I'm only like 2-3 years older than the guys I'm coaching, and they seem to listen. I knew then that's what I wanted to do. And that is something that I wanted to be and achieve at the highest level, which I knew was going to take some sacrifice, and I was willing to do that.
So what was that like, coming in and you're working with guys that, like you just mentioned, they were just a few years younger than you. They might have been one or two that was about the same age as you. And so how did you go about getting their, I guess, respect?
Well, the first hurdle that you have to make is the hurdle that's in your mind. And the hurdle in my mind was these young men are not going to listen to me. What is it that I got that they don't already have? Some of them, the majority of them, are way better athletes than I ever wish I could ever be. But then when you finish that, because your mind and yourself can be your greatest enemy. You yourself to sidetrack your own blessings. You yourself can sidetrack your own dreams. You yourself can sidetrack your own momentum, your own achievement to being what you want to be. And once I cleared that hurdle, and I still remember Coach Fitz, his wife was pregnant, and we were going to play the University of Alabama that Saturday. He said, look, I got a workout here. You follow that workout. You throw in whatever you need to, but you got to run this. My wife is in labor, and I ran that, and we pulled off the upset of Alabama, and
Wow.
everybody listened. Everybody listened, and it was just like I cleared that self doubt. Self doubt is a powerful negative weapon that you could, like I said, you could destroy yourself for that. You clear away that self-doubt, it's just like after that, it was just like an open field. We grew up in the country in Bayou, Louisiana. We know about open fields. It was just like an open field for me just to run down.
And I like that you touched on the mental aspect. And so in your line of work, working with these young athletes and, the professional ones that you've worked with, how much of your job is mental? How much of it is mental that most of these athletes are dealing with?
Now, on the professional level, I'm going to tell you right now, most of them have achieved at that level because they conquered that mental hurdle. They conquered that mental challenge. When you really get into the colleges, is sometimes it's hard. That you have to get these young men, and I do work with some women's sports too, to start believing in themselves. But sometimes they won't believe in themselves before you believe in them. So you have to show them that you believe in them. I believe you can do this. I know you can do this. I don't usually believe. I don't speak in abstract terms. I speak in present terms. You got this. You did this. This is what you're going to do right now. And now, hey, I think you can. I know you can. That's just the bottom line. And when they feel like all my kids, they feel that belief. They know how I push them and how much I believe them. And I tell our guys, and I just had a text from one of our players that's going into the portal. And what he texted me was, Coach B, I love you, man. We're family for life. Thank you for everything you've done for me. I tell my kids, I love them. Hey, guys, hey, I love you, Coach. And they're like, love you too, Coach B. And we go at it. Because I don't look at them as a commodity. I look at them as a human being. I look at them as as somebody that is trying to achieve the best that they want to be, and somebody that I know they can achieve, and I can help them because that's what the talents that I've been blessed with is to help them be their best. And the main part of that is getting over that mental hurdle. You would be surprised how much mentally, if a kid's trying to learn math and multiplication scares them to death, and they feel that they can't do it, well, guess what? You're not going to do it. Correct? If I'm too scared, if I mentally, I know I don't think I could get that rebound because I was physically not able. When the ball goes up, the other guy's going to get the rebound. But if I tell myself that I know I could do it, I'll be able to do it.
Yeah, it kind of goes with if you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, you can't. Even if you have the ability, if you can't, if you don't believe you can do it, then you're not going to do it.
Exactly. So instilling that belief is my main thing before we start writing out weight programs, before we start writing out nutrition programs, before we do anything mentally. Like when I talk to, especially now in the days of NIL now, it's almost like back in the pros. It's like we got free agents that we got to get in, because these kids actually, we do pay them now. When you and I was in school, that was illegal, but now that's the way of the world. I like to talk to their coaches and find out what kind of person they were mentally, because I know I got to clear that challenge. If there's a challenge there, and it's mental, that has to be taken care of first, or constantly, and that's something that you don't just do it in a day. You got to constantly work on that before we do anything else, and really going to see the fruits of our labor from everything else that we do.
Been a lot of talk about the whole NIL thing that you just touched on. And so that's a big change that's happened in the world of college athletics. But I want to talk a little bit more about, I guess, mentality. And so what changes have you seen in young men over the past 20 something years?
So when I first got into it, the young men, they were like us, raised. I'm going to hard work. And that was a time, believe it or not, audience, that was before social media. that was on social media. So we had, I would say the athletes of today are better in the sense that they have more training from the neck down and all that. But from the neck up, I still think those young men and women 20 years ago, if they had that same type of training, would probably win 9 times out of 10 or 8 times out of 10, because the mental aspect was just totally different. Now, especially when it's almost like especially when NIL first came out, I used to hear young men was like, everybody talk about money, everybody talk about this. And it's like, yeah, guys, you realize that now that you guys are professional, in the pros, we fine people. If you late, you'll get fined. If you you get in trouble, you get fined. And it was like, what? With that benefit also comes responsibility. And they don't realize that. So it's something that's new. It's something that, is way over my pay grade, how we get it all together. But I just noticed that it became more of I deserve this than I earned this. And that's the main thing I try to teach my guys. And you have to earn everything. Like, we're up by 20 and another team come back. That team's not going to quit. We got to earn that win. We're on the road. We're playing Akron, our biggest rival. We got to earn that win. Don't look for the refs to give you the foul. Don't look for them to give you the game. See where I'm going with this? You have to go out there and take it and earn it.
So with those changes, how has that impacted how you reach these guys, how you coach them?
I coach them the same way my daddy raised me. And that one thing has not changed. You let these kids know that you love them. You don't lie to them. You don't play games with them. You be upfront and frank with them. If I think that you are not performing in a way that you're not performing, I'm going to tell you. But I'm not going to walk away. I'm going to help you get to where I got to help you get to. And that's the problem I noticed that a lot of coaches make. Because back in the day, it was just like, hey, you yell at, okay, you fix it. You know what I'm saying? But now you really, and that's about, you gotta teach them how to fix it. Because sometimes they just don't know. You know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. Sometimes you don't know how to get it right. All right. So you teach them. You teach them, you take the time. I always was the person that would explain what we doing and why we doing. And when I was coming up in the field, some of the older coaches was like, "No, you don't have to spend this. You got to do it your way or the highway." Well, it's not going to always be like that. And I could actually see the changes coming down the window. Sometimes you have to explain why we're doing it, so there's a buy-in factor to it. Just like a diet. If I want you to lose body fat, but I give you brown rice, broccoli, dried chicken breasts, what's the chances you're going to follow that diet? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So what I do is, especially like when I write diet for the athletes, here's a list. Give me 25 foods that you like. 25 dishes you like. Tell me what you like. And then we go from there. And I know they're going to follow. And I never have a problem with that. So if this generation needs to be explained more, the why, and they'll do it. Even sometimes I noticed that before I came back to the States, when we started getting more pros that were coming from more this generation, they still needed to be told why. Now, they're going to do it. A lot of them going to do it, especially the pros, especially now, they'll do it anyway. But if you tell them why, they have some belief, and they're going to work harder at it. And I always like to give them ownership. Whoever's the captains of the team, if anything needs to be handled, that's going to be you guys. This is your team. I'm old. I'm not getting out there. And I wasn't a basketball player anyway. I was a football player. So you got to have to get out there. So when things are going to go amok, because in every game, something will go wrong. Something bad is going to happen. That's just life. That's just how it goes. They're going to be the ones out there to try to fix it. We could be trying to tell them this and do this and that, but they're the ones that got to fix it. So I let them fix it while they're down here, while we're doing conditioning, while we're doing training, all that, so they get used to that role.
Do you have non-negotiables as a coach?
Oh, yes. Like, okay, so in the weight room, the player's going to tell you, I have no non-negotiables like music, no cursing, no words that are going to demean your race or anything like that. So basically, we don't listen to music because nobody can find anything. So basically, like I was saying, that's what we do. You once you clear that mental challenge, the kids are a little bit different mentally, but once you don't, I never change my principles in getting them right. I might change the way I approach it and how I do it, but I keep those the same so there's some continuity.
Okay. And so how do you handle those talented players, the ones that you just look at and like, man, this guy could really go far, but then they don't have the discipline?
That's the thing. That's a lot of conversation. All right. Back in the day, it wouldn't have been like that. It would have been like, oh, we're going to the field or we're going to. Nowadays, that's not done. But I never did really all that. I always was the person to pull you up aside and talk to you and just tell you some things. Like, I try to find out my player's background. I have had one player really talented, and we're going to lose him to the portal. But he had a rough childhood where he lost a parent, a sister, a granddaddy, and basically he's my son. Really, he's my adopted son. He sits by me on the plane rides. He's like my 6'10" son. All right, but this young man is going to be a very well off man in a few months, well, a few weeks, and constant talking, letting him know, hey, I care about you. I love you. I want to know how you're doing. How's your mental? How's everything with you? He couldn't grow up in his hometown. He had to move and go somewhere else because it was that dangerous for him. And this kid has overcome so much. But when you're not going to reach everybody. I mean, let's just be honest. There's players are going to fall through the crack. So players is not going to reach what you wanted them to reach or be what you wanted them to be. And I take that more worse than I take losing probably a championship game. But because my whole key is I show you I care about you as a person. I'm not worried about how you're going to play. I'm not worried about anything else because I know you're going to perform because you know I care about you. That's my whole key. But when you fall short of that, it does feel like I failed them. And sometimes if you know you did your best, that's all you could do. But it doesn't make it easier now. I'm going to tell you that right now. But if I know I poured everything I had into this young man or this, like that, then I have to learn to live with it.
Mm. And so let's kind of pivot a little bit and talk more about, I guess, your own journey, your own personal accomplishments and things of that nature. You're very well accomplished. You've competed in bodybuilding, and of course, you work with professionals. And yeah, so how did that start to materialize?
It started in the conference center with all those milks. So when I got out, and I was starting my coaching career, and I was at the University of Central Arkansas. This is probably about 2002. 2002. And my football players were like, "Coach, you should compete in bodybuilding." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I would do it." It was like, "Oh no, you can't. No, no, no. You have us do all this and all these sled pulls and all this stuff like that and all this weight, and you're scared to compete in a competition." So I got in my first one, didn't know what I was doing, and I almost won it. So then I came back the next year, and I lost by 1 point.
Wow.
So the third year, I was just like, "Hey, it's so far." I was like, "I got to get it. I got to get it." A team came to support me, and I was the first ever Black Mr. Arkansas. Won the show. Went from there on to do the Junior Nationals that year and got killed because now you're stepping up another level. Then that next year, boom, and then the year after that, I almost turned pro. And it was a lot of, thank God, it was a lot of self-sacrifice. It was a lot of discipline, a lot of fish and cream of rice. It was a lot. The sad thing about it, when you do something like that, you had to be a little selfish in the bodybuilding thing. And you wish you probably should have go at it a different way, but that's the only way I knew to try to be the best I could be at that. And then about when I was starting to get near there, I got endorsed. I got picked up by a company, so that was good. But it changed the way I look at it because I used to see all these guys going kids posing and traveling around the country and doing all this stuff and being in these abs, and I was like, man, I always wanted to do that. And I got to do that. And then I found out it became more of a job. It wasn't a fun hobby anymore. That you had to stay in shape anytime because you could be called on for a photo shoot. You could be called on to go do a guest pose. You could be called on to work a booth in another state. So I still had the love for it, but then it's like I was getting kind of burned out. And then when I left Central Arkansas and I was working at Northern Michigan at the U.S. Olympic Training Center, the year before I had missed the opportunity to go to China and work with professional basketball. The team changed their mind. Well, lo and behold, it happened. And then the next thing you know, I'm halfway around the world, entering China. I don't know anybody. And when I got there, I'm not gonna lie, I was getting cold feet. I was just like, but you have to get out of your comfort zone. That's one thing I learned. Comfort zone, there's a saying that says the comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. And all I remember is when I got through, I still remember this, man. I remember, first of all, I get there and I was just like, wow. And I just saw all these tall people. and I was like, wait a minute. And I was like, they had, the soldiers had AK-47s. And I'm just like,
Wow.
oh my God, what did I get myself into? And I remember there's one female soldier. like was behind the desk, and she was following me everywhere I go. So I kept walking. Like if I keep walking to the last line, by the
Was she
time I get,
protecting you, or was
yes,
she watching
no.
you?
When I got there, she was watching me. When I got there, she excused the other person out and she grabbed my papers because I had to have a certain set of papers. And she's like, "Why are you here?" That's just exactly what she asked me. I said, and I started talking. She said, "Why are you here?" So then I was like, "Basketball, Jill is CBS," so she read the paper. So they could tell you agree. That was my first time being overseas. And then when I got through, got my luggage out of the thing, and then when I got past where everybody was, because it was like all of a sudden it was like a lot of bright lights. I was like, "Wow, it's really bright out there." Didn't realize that was the media, and they were waiting for me. And it was just like pictures. And then after that, it was my translator had picked me up, the general manager. And then I realized that was one of the best moves I've ever made. I got to work with professional athletes that were in the NBA. I got to meet Carlos Boozer, Stephon Marbury, all these top guys, got to work with them. I was actually training Yao Ming's cousin. He was on our team. He was like 7'7". I've never
Wow.
seen somebody that tall before in my life. But he was the tallest person I've seen over there. I mean, and it was just like a whole different world. And then I just kept going back and forth to China because I started building a name over there. And then next thing I know, I'm leaving China. Didn't even realize I was getting evacuated back to the United States because I was in a city called Wuhan. And didn't realize that I actually had, it's a story with that. I had got sick in July of 2019, but we didn't know what it was. Nobody knew what it was. And I
Wow.
got evacuated. Next thing you know, I'm on a plane. There's nothing but Americans on the plane. And I'm heading back. And then a week and a half later, I hear on the news that there's a mysterious virus in Wuhan.
Man.
So that was the last time I still, it's like everywhere I go, I say I have family. And one of these days I'll make it back. But then after that, I went to the Middle East, and I was there for 2 years, working in the Middle East. And COVID was still going on, and it got pretty bad out there. I was in Doha, Qatar, okay, and it got pretty bad out there. And then I got blessed to come back. I worked with the U.S. Army, some soldiers for a little bit, got the soldiers in condition and ready to go for the greatest battle of all. We all say that when we play coaching, oh, we're going to battle. We're going to play a game. We're going to play a child's game. All right. It's a great game, but we're going to play a game. More than likely, we're all coming back. These young men don't know, or women don't know if they're coming back. So they are our greatest athletes. And to me, that might actually, I say child, that might be the best thing I've ever did in my life. It's definitely the most proudest thing I've ever did in my life. Okay. And then Kent State got to give me a call. And my first year, we won conference championship, went to the NCAA tournament. 3 out of my 4 years, we went to the NCAA postseason. We was in the NIT last year, we was in the NIT this year. Honestly, it should have been 4 out of 4, but that second year, we made a mistake with 4 point something seconds left. I would have been back in the NCAA tournament. But I got to be blessed. I worked with a great group of young men. I worked with a great group of young ladies. Most of our female golfers are from another country. And we got one right now that's playing in Augusta National at the Masters Amateur. She's ranked 5th in the country. I mean, so I'm blessed to be working with so many great young talents.
So you've obviously committed your life to this. What do a lot of people get wrong about fitness and taking care of their bodies and improving their bodies?
That is easy. There's everybody want to go to heaven, but nobody want to die. You know what I'm saying? So it's like everybody, I'll be in the gym times 2-3 hours, and people be like, "Oh, you're in there so long. It should be 45 minutes." It's not gonna be that easy. No, anybody tell you that, they're lying to you. They're selling you a dream. You're going to have to diet. There's no magic pill you're going to take. And there might be some things, there's certain things, medications out on the market, but we don't know if that's completely safe or not. Everybody wants the easy way out. Nobody wants the hard way out. You got to diet. You got to work out. It's not going to be a 10-week thing, and that's it. You're going to have to make this a lifestyle thing, and you're going to have to change some habits. You can't get to where you're going where you want to be by doing the same thing you did last time. It's not going to happen. That's the definition of insanity. You got to have to change things to make it go to where you want to go. It's a lifestyle change.
What keeps you excited about your work, whether it be the coaching or whether it be the bodybuilding?
Well, first of all, 53 years old, I got an 8-pack. I'm at 5.8% body fat. Not that many guys can say that, so I like that. But I like that because I'm being a role model to my athletes. All right. I always say a strength coach got to look like a strength coach. If I worked on your car, if I was a mechanic, but my car was in the shop, would you want to go to, you're not going to want to do that, And unfortunately, in the world of strength conditioning, we got a lot of people that want to talk about workouts and they don't even work out themselves. I like to lead by example. My main thing that keeps me going is changing these young people's lives and watching them. Like I just told you about this one young man, he set himself up for generations to come. So now I feel I have a hand in that, in helping him achieve that, or it doesn't have to be just athletes. You could take stuff that you learn from sports, the hard work, the discipline, and move that to any part of your life and make it work and win at life. So what I'm trying to say is I enjoy helping young people win at life. That's what I'm trying to say. I get a kick out of that. Now winning some championships too, that's good too.
So have you ever had that one athlete that just came back to you and just shared something with you that maybe you didn't even realize the impact that you were having on them?
I have many athletes do that. I had this one, Jalen Sullinger. I'm going to call your name out here. He's in Poland right now playing professional basketball. This young man wrote me a note last year before he left, and I cried. I'm saying this on national. I got the note. I actually cried because he was a young man that was here. He left NIL, and the rare thing, he came back. And I love the kid. Yeah, if I had a daughter, she's married him, no matter what. Y'all get married, I'm a old Louisiana gunshot wedding. That's what's going to happen. But that letter was touching. But I get it all the time. I got a letter yesterday. I get that all the time. Players, and I stay in contact, even from when I first started coaching. I'm still hearing from my players. They all got their sons and stuff like where you at now? My son's going to you. It's like, okay, number one, they realize I'm really that old. And number two, you made a difference in their lives. You changed something. And, I had another player told me that, wrote it on my Instagram. He said, well, they're lucky to have you not because of the wins and losses, because you make a difference in their lives. And he lives in Florida, Brett Orr. I'm going to call your name out. And he said, you made a difference in my life. And I'm just like, he has two, maybe 3 kids or something. And I'm just like, wow. You know what I'm saying? You don't expect that. But then that makes me realize that I did the right thing.
What do you think is unique about your style? What makes you stand out compared to other coaches that do the same thing?
My style is going to be my style, from my training program to my my training program, we call it the Briscoe program, because you're not going to find it in a book. You're not going to find it anywhere. It's my observation that's made tailored to your specific need, to the team's specific needs. My style is me being me. There's only one me, and that's going to be, I don't try to copy anything else. The best thing I've learned from coaches is from my dad, who was a construction worker, and you got to just treat people right. Do right by everybody. Don't lie to anybody. Don't play games with anybody. Treat people with respect, And if you do that, you'll be fine. But you do it in your way. I always try to tell people, don't be me. Be better than me. Hey, I want to be like you. Nah, don't be me. Be better. Be better. Always try to be better. Okay. But my style is me. It works for me. there's only one of me. Yeah, their style is going to work with this. So when I have my interns, I'm like, don't try to copy everything. You see what I got? Pick something that you like. What you don't like, put it off the side. You may like it later. You may never like it, and change it to fit you. That's all I ask.
Now we're both from Louisiana, small town Louisiana, and we know that the culture down there is it's just different.
It's different.
And so, what lessons did you learn from growing up in Louisiana that you typically don't really see in other places?
Man, that's great. Yeah, I can tell you what I've learned. My daddy always taught me never to complain. And let me tell you this: my dad couldn't read, he couldn't write. But when we got to USL, did it look like I missed a meal? No, it didn't look like I missed a meal. No. So I seen this man. My sisters wanted to get hair, get clothes or something. I saw this man get up at 3:30 in the morning, and he worked construction. He had those old boots, you know. And I see him nail and I'm gonna cry. It makes me want to tear up. Nail his soles of his shoes together, so he make those shoes work, so they could go get their hair fixed or some clothes or whatever. He saw it that important. He never complained about anything, and I take that lesson and I bring that. That's people say it's Monday. Oh, it's Monday. You gotta get. Hell, I was born August 14, 1972 was a Monday. I was born on a Monday, so you know that's a great day for me. I wake up, I might be tired. I might have was in San Francisco one day. Now I'm flying to Chicago the next day. I'm making a living working in a child's game. What is there to complain about? You know, I see my dad out there working 12-hour shifts in the sun. And we know in Louisiana in the summertime, 100% humidity, 100-degree weather, ain't no joke. He never complained. That man never complained. That's what I took for my whole life. Why complain? Do something about a situation that you don't like. Something if you want to make something better, do it. But don't just sit and complain about it. So I can tell you that's the one thing that I've taken. And even when sometimes players be like, well, what you complaining about? You know, back in my day, we didn't get paid to do this. You get paid to do this now. There's no complaint. Nowhere to complain. You're healthy? Yes. You woke up to see another day? Yes. What you complaining about?
Yeah, I feel you. You know, the living in Louisiana, man, it's different and it's hard, man. You know, you have a lot of things that kind of work against you, you know, especially being, you know, people of color and that sort of thing. And so, you know, it teaches you some real lessons to where, you know, they talk about if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Well, I kind of feel like if you can make it in Louisiana, you can make it anywhere because there's a lot of things that work against you, especially as a black man or a black woman.
And now we get into that. That's a whole. I grew up in a town. On one side of town was I wouldn't say what they would call us, but it wasn't a nice word. And then the other side of town was the white side of town. There was a black Catholic church on one side of the town. You crossed the bayou. There was a white Catholic church, which all of that should not have been done. I'm going to have to move so the lights come on. But all of that shouldn't have been done. You know what I'm saying? So that's you know, we know that they got the Klan down there. We know that, you know. You know, there's alligators that can bite you and snakes.
Yes.
So yeah, it's different. But you know what? I would not change it for the world. Louisiana made me what I am today. You know, growing up in the bayou, growing up in South Louisiana with all the moss and stuff, that made me what I am today. And if I wasn't wasn't raised to be from there, all from I learned out there, I wouldn't be the man I am right now. So I thank God for growing up in South Louisiana.
Coach, man, I really appreciate you, man, coming on. What do you have? What do you have coming up? Anything that you have coming up that we should maybe kind of be on the lookout for?
Well, you know, there's changes in coaching. You know, I'm going to stop right there. There's a lot of changes going on. There's a lot of chatter. So Stay tuned.
Hey, fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, like you mentioned, that you got players moving around, and so
Coaches moving around
and
too.
coaches
Just
moving around. So
yeah.
hey,
That,
I really appreciate your. I guess you have this level of being opportunistic. You haven't been one that was scared to pull the trigger as far as moving around and that sort of thing, finding those opportunities and taking advantage of opportunities. I think there's a lot to say about that.
yeah. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have been scared. I just pulled the trigger.
Oh, no doubt. That's reality, man.
Yeah. But it's you either can live with regret, which I don't want to do. I don't want to live with regret. I don't want to be like I could have did this when I don't, because I know the type of person I would just beat myself up about it. If I fail, I fail. So what?
Yeah.
Not the end of the world. I fail. I failed many times. I've lost many times. When people don't see, like when I was in China, people see, oh, you on this and you on that. People don't see the nights alone, being by yourself, coming back to an empty apartment because you're overseas and you're trying to learn Mandarin and you only been in China 2 weeks. From simple things as ordering food is very hard. You know what I'm saying? People don't see all that. They don't see remember what I told you? People say, oh, well, you're doing this successful. It takes many years to be overnight success, and I'm still not nowhere there yet. There's a lot of work behind the scenes where, this year's in the NCAA. They don't see the hours from getting here at 6 in the morning and leaving at 8 o'clock at night. They don't see that. That's a lot of work you got to do. They don't see, hey, we played a game. It's time to go into the next round. We got to check out the hotel at 4:30 to get on a bus, to get to the airport, to fly out halfway across the country for the next tournament. They don't see that. There's a lot of work to that.
Oh yeah. And I always tell people like, man, especially the professional athletes, them having to move towns and stuff all the time. Like,
And then,
I'm like, imagine how uncomfortable that is, to get waived and then you got to show up in another city, 2 days later and find a place and all of that. Even if you're getting help, that's a lot.
And that's even by yourself. A lot of these got families. They got kids that are in school. Wives, good gosh.
Yeah.
It's just bad. It's rough all the way around. It's rough. It's not. Trust me. It's not glamour and glisten all the time. It's a lot that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah. Well, Coach, man, I appreciate you. This was fantastic, man. And so again, it's super cool to have known you since college and just see the journey and just to see somebody live in their passion, because that's such a cliche all the time. Follow your passion, and to actually see someone who has done it for 30 something years is I don't know. It's something.
Mills, you looking in the mirror, my man. I look at you and I see how you're doing and how you're growing and how you were. You was always the one that was the intellectual, the deep thinker in the group. And, back then sometimes it was hard to follow because you was like so far, your thoughts are so far and so deep than what we were thinking at the time. And to see how far you have become and just the great man you are and the good work you're doing for everybody else.
Well, I appreciate that. There you have it, folks. Message to Movement winning at BNU, Henry Briscoe, Sports Performance Director at Kent State, blessed us today with a lot of wisdom and knowledge. Change happens one person at a time, 1 second at a time. Let's go.